responsibility when we're talking about sports and college football and people, not to just throw them out and be like, you know what, that was just awful, get rid of them, blah, 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 blah. I find two things can be true with this next comment, Paul. I find Shane Beamer to be a very, very, very likable man. I find Shane Beamer to be very, very, very good for his players. You saw it in the SEC documentary. He is such a warm person to be a part of. Shane Beamer is going to have to answer a lot of questions this morning, how it is even possible to blow a 32-3 lead at halftime and get beaten the way that they did in Texas A&M yesterday. The Aggies, give them all the credit. They had the SEC championship drama on the line. That was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever witnessed on a college football Saturday.
Man, if you're looking at in sports vernacular, like what is the worst thing that can happen? I think we go back, 35 years to the Texans blowing a 31-point lead in a playoff game to the Bills. I was there in 96, walking the back nine with Nick Faldo and Greg Norman when he had a 6-shot lead going into the final round of Augusta. And then there's yesterday. It doesn't. You can lose a game by 4 touchdowns. And if you're down, you just kind of walk. But there's nothing like blowing a lead like that, especially at the number 3 team, especially at their house. And you don't make of the 19 mistakes you make in the second half, you only make 18, you still win the game, but leave it to Shane Beamer to manage to make his team managed to make every one. And by the way, go back about 4 weeks ago, we saw it wasn't nearly as bad, but it was as gruesome when they blew that lead at the end of the game to Alabama.
Teams going back to 2014, if you had a 27-point lead in an SEC game, you were going to win. It was 0 for 286, right. Teams that were down 27 points. South Carolina is now that 1. I just don't know, at least this year. Like, look, they've got Clemson, and I get it. They've dominated Dabo of late. But there's a psyche in a locker room that when you're up 30 points against the third-ranked team in the country and you're beating the hell out of them, and you're doing whatever you want. You get the police incident in the tunnel with Nick Harbor. You got everybody's on your side. You're like, oh, this is going down. Number 3 is going down. Now we're going to have all these one-loss teams in the SEC. I just don't know how you come back from that this year. Now, I don't think South Carolina is going to move on from Shane Beamer. I don't know that. I mean, look, anything can happen in college football nowadays. But, Paul, that is a tough one to come back from in Columbia with that kind of – that is soul-crushing.
He almost needs to beat Clemson now, and that would be, 3 out of the last 4?
Yeah.
That has been his specialty going back a couple of years. He beat a top 10 Tennessee team. He beat A&M last year. But his fan base is more than likely. He's also got another problem, and that's a brand new state-of-the-art AD who I'm sure is looking around. And by the way, Jeremiah Donati is in that new breed of ADs that is plugged into where it's at in college athletics right now. I think he was at TCU, and yeah. He's done an amazing job there. I was on that campus a couple of months ago for a day, a lecture, and it's man, you've been there. It's a very impressive place. And Shane Beamer right now, hate to say it, just looks like a loser. There's no getting around it. I don't know how he scrapes that away. 8 weeks ago, people were concerned he might leave for Virginia Tech. That's no longer on the board. He's got a better chance of leaving, being shown the door than he does getting another job.
Yeah, I was with James Franklin on Thursday night. He was at the game I was calling in Virginia, and the fans out there, they're supporting ODU and the local school out there in Norfolk, but there were Virginia Tech people out there that were all but certain that James Franklin was just going to take his car from there to Plattsburgh and start making things happen. But certainly, Shane Beamer, I root for him because he's such a good person. But in the business aspect of this, that is not a good look. And if you're Columbia and you're South Carolina and you just came off the season a year ago, you did, and everybody was coming back, including Harbor, including Sellers. You fire Mike Shula. The offense looked good in the first half. Dylan Stewart's out there. I mean, that's going to be a tough one to swallow here for the rest of the season. Now, the Texas conundrum, because they had worked their way back into this conversation, ranked 10th in the country. Arch was playing solid. But we say this every single year, and I'm going to say it right here and right now again. There is no other team in the country that finds a way to round in a championship form at the end of the season more than the Georgia Bulldogs. Gunnar Stockton accounted for 5 touchdowns last night. Kirby with the great quote afterwards, some people come to get the check, but if you come to get the check and you don't hit here, you're not going to play here. I would want nothing to do with the Georgia Bulldogs, and I am curious now what's left for Texas. They do have A&M on the board, so there is a way, and we can't foregone conclusion anything with the playoff right now, Paul, but Georgia, man, they look like the team to beat right now.
Yeah, I was in Starkville a week ago in Athens this weekend, Matt, and that program has just transformed. I mean, this is a program that really took a lot to even still be in the race right now. They survived Tennessee, a game they should have lost. They almost let the Alabama game get away. They've had close calls across the board. But I give the credit to Kirby Smart. I mean, he told me Friday night on our show that he told his team, you just need to appreciate where you are and how special this is, having a school like Texas come in with all the celebrity and all the glamour and play a top 10 matchup. He said, I didn't get to do that when I was a player. And I think that resonates. He's very real. He knows he's had to overcome a great deal. He put faith in a couple of people this year that nobody else had faith in, and that's Gunnar Stockton and Mike Bobo. The fans wanted Bobo out. The fans weren't sure about Gunnar Stockton, including the people in the media like me. And right now they are just gliding along. They still have Georgia Tech, which looks a little shaky after yesterday. And then they may or may not be in the SEC championship game, but they are a force right now.
How good is this, by the way? I think I had this correctly. The SEC office released it yesterday that the SEC championship opponents cannot be determined until the final week of the regular season. How good is that?
Yeah, and it was almost determined yesterday. That shows you how crazy it is. Yeah, I mean, I'll be asked this question 50 times a day now. Hey, what's it going to take? And I've read it, Matt. You've read it. I don't even think I want to think about it again. But you think about Alabama at Auburn, Texas A&M at Texas that day, Georgia Tech the day before. There is a great deal going on that final weekend.
Yeah, and
not much going on next weekend.
Right, next week, and we kind of we can look ahead. But yeah, Georgia Tech, at least that's out of league, and the Bulldogs' resume for now is complete. What left? We'll get out of here on this. What now for Texas? Again, they got their way back into it, and I'll say this for Arch. Early on in that game, he was victimized by drops. He put the ball on a lot of his receivers. That wasn't an Arch problem. And then by the time they were trying to get any momentum, they got it to 14-10. Then it got too late. The time to make the statement was early to let Georgia know that they were going to be there. Then Kirby kicks the onside kick to give them an extra possession, and that was kind of the point of the game. Right? I've always said Georgia's like a boa constrictor. They just squeeze you to death at the end of the game, and Georgia did that. But what now for Texas?
They look completely different. I mean, I was sitting here a week ago saying, don't laugh at Texas. They 9-3 win over A&M. They're in great shape. That loss took the air out of that momentum, Matt. 2 weeks from now is a long way. One of the few times I'm really curious to hear what the committee chairman, considering it's a new committee chairman, this Tuesday. I mean, only the CFP can lose its spokesperson. I mean, it's the game you can't shoot straight. But it doesn't matter because that guy actually got criticized for saying a little too much sometimes. But we have a new guy in there, so I think Texas has got a long shot now. Even beating A&M, that loss to me is going to haunt them like the Oklahoma loss did to Alabama a year ago because it was so late and so bad.
Yeah, you know who's back in this thing, by the way? Miami. Miami's all the way back in.
Dogs set to move up in the college football rankings, going to replace Alabama come Tuesday. All right, back here with former Ohio State running back Beanie Wells and former Penn State tight end Adam Brenneman. Look, this game really came down to that fourth down drive. They go for it on 4th and 5. They go for it 4th and 1. They get aided by an offside play. 3 plays later, it's Stockton to London Humphreys. And then, Adam, they recover the onside kick.
Compared to the 30 yards that Texas ran for, and Georgia's defense stepped up in a huge way. The best stat to me, Texas's average 3rd down to go in this game, 3rd down and 8. That puts your quarterback, Arch Manning, in a really tough spot consistently in bad situations on offense.
You know, you go back to that onside kick. That was like a gut blow right there. Yeah. Took everything out of that Texas football team. But hats off to Georgia for going out and looking like a dominant top 5 team like they're supposed to in this situation. And then when you look at how they played on defense, how they just were stifling in the run game, and they put, in my opinion, they put so much pressure on Arch Manning, who we saw make strides the last couple of weeks of this season and going in the right direction. I thought he may be able to get this team over the hump, but Georgia's defense was just too much for him in this offense, quite frankly. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't sustain drives. They were 2 of 12 on 3rd down. You're not going to win many football games like that. Then when you make costly mistakes, they had 9 penalties for 58 yards. That a lot of times that's...
See the ability from Gunnar Stockton in this offense. They could have wilted in this moment. They could have made this a game where they get a field goal. Instead, it's those 4th down plays. They go for it on 4th and 1. Chauncey Bowens picks up the 1st down. Texas makes a mistake, they're offside, and all of a sudden it's a 21-10 game. And right there is the separation, because what we had been talking about Georgia all season is they were a second-half team, right? They would trail. They were one of the best teams in Division I in FBS. They would trail all season long, and then they'd come on in the second half. We see that again, and you see the 21 in the 4th quarter. You're like, okay, eventually are you going to get snake bitten, right? Because eventually is a team going to get you, and they find a way to get it done again.
Yeah, I mean, and that's hats off to Kirby Smart and how he has this team playing right now. They understand,
look at this right here.
They understand who they are. They understand the type of football team that they are and how they're built, and they go out on a week-to-week basis and absolutely believe in themselves and play with that dominant nature, especially in the second half.
Yeah, one of the things Kirby Smart is so good at as a head coach is managing momentum in a ball game. When his team has momentum, he does things like call for the onside kick to seal the game. When his team doesn't have momentum, he's so good at dialing up pressure, bringing chaos on defense to get the momentum back. We just saw that graphic with all the comeback wins for Georgia this year. A lot of that is because their head coach knows how to win games and knows how to get their team confidence and momentum when they don't necessarily have it.
And they got the momentum there in the 4th quarter. Again, 21 unanswered points, and they improved to 9-0 at home against top 10 teams under head coach Kirby Smart. Time now for player profiles presented by Marriott Bonvoy. Over 30 hotel brands for every kind of fan. And if you're a football fan, you were certainly a fan of what Gunnar Stockton did on this night. He threw the pick, but he atoned for that. 5 total touchdowns. I don't know if there's any other player you can give besides Gunnar Stockton here in this game.
No, there isn't. I mean, he did everything that you wanted out of a leader on this football team. When you make mistakes, he went out and responded in a drastic way. 24 of 29, 29 yards, 4 touchdowns, through the air, 1 on the ground. He is the unquestioned leader of this football team. And I know there's times throughout the season where everybody's questioning Gunnar Stockton if he's the guy that can get this team over the hump. Well, I think he proved that tonight in the biggest of moments.
This is his first full season as a starter.
Yeah.
Right? We got to remember that.
Exactly. He has not played a ton of football, but let me be very clear. Gunnar Stockton was the best player on the field in Athens on Saturday night.
No question.
I mean, 24 of 29, the 5 touchdowns, as you mentioned, Beanie, took care of the football, ran the ball well, and made big plays with his legs. That's where I feel like Gunnar's really at his best, is when he is creating with his legs. When it's 3rd down and 3, they can go quarterback run game in the RPO and the zone read game and decide to hand the football off, or he keeps it himself. He was the best player on the field. He has stepped up in a huge way this season, and he's no longer playing like a guy in his first year as a full-time starter.
So Gunnar Stockton right now has the 5th best odds to win the Heisman at 25-1, behind Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sayin, Marcel Reed, and Diego Pavia. So where does that fit in the conversation for you? Because I think really it's a 2-man race. It's Mendoza and it's Sayin.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You know, I don't think his numbers really stack up with the other guys, especially the impact on the game on a consistent basis that Fernando Mendoza and Julian Sand has for their football team. Another guy I'll probably throw in that conversation is Jeremiah Love. I would like to see him get some more love in the Heisman race, but I don't think it'll happen. It's become a quarterback award.
He may get some more love after the spin move for the touchdown he had today. Jeremiah Love had a great game, but to me, it's Fernando Mendoza's Heisman to lose.
Indeed. Well, Gunnar Stockton, the player of the game, presented by Marriott Bonvoy, over 30 hotel brands for every kind of fan. And you look at what Gunnar Stockton has done, 10 total touchdowns against the top 10, stepping up against top 10 opponents. As I mentioned, the Bulldogs, 9-0 at home against top 10 teams under head coach Kirby Smart. And Georgia going to move up one spot in the college football playoff rankings come Tuesday. I don't even need to wait till Tuesday. They're going to be the number 4 team in the nation after Alabama lost to Oklahoma. And you remember that Georgia,
where Ohio State stays unbeaten. Texas Tech rolls another team. Georgia Tech survives in the ACC, and Miami dominates. Are they looking at 2 teams in? I doubt it. It still feels like one. Indiana, no issues, and SC comes back in LA and beats Iowa. So here is where we sit. If I'm doing some math here. ACC gets 1, Big 12 gets 1 or 2 at best, Big 10 gets 3, Group of 6 gets 1, Notre Dame is in. That leaves 4 or 5 to get in from